Okay, so we are going to start our unit with looking at the structure and function of cells. So our unit is cells, growth, and homeostasis, but we have to start with the basics, right? We have to start with what's a cell? What is a cell? And we started by looking at those beetles. And the goal by the end of this unit is for you guys to create a model that shows the organization of systems that interact with each other within a multicellular organism, which sounds like a big, big job. And it is a big job, but you'll be able to do it once we get to the end of this unit. And throughout this unit, we're going to sort of chunk this big unit, cells, growth, and homeostasis, into like three smaller units. We're going to talk about cells. Then we're going to talk about how cells maintain homeostasis and um, and then how cells grow and develop and make more cells. So you are going to keep looking at not only the structures and functions of cells, but also the things that organisms have to do. And we're going to keep looking at how organisms grow and develop. So we first have to start with what's a cell. A cell is the smallest unit of a living thing, and it's the basic building block of all living organisms. And you're always going to see plant cells drawn like this and animal cells drawn like this. Animal cells are not all circles, and plant cells are not all perfect rectangles. It's just not the way they are. But that's the standard drawing that you're always going to see. They all are going to have similar organelles, except plants organelles and animal organelles. There are a couple that are different, but they all share similar organelles. So living things can be are all made up of cells. It's one of the characteristics of life. Remember, we talked about that earlier in the year. So all living things are made up of cells. So living things can be made up of one cell, so a unicellular organism like a bacteria or a protist, or many cells, which is called a multicellular organism, and that's like humans or dogs or animals, are all multicellular, so more than one cell. We started our unit by looking at our beetles, and our beetles, remember, had those hairs that we were looking at, also called seta, which you guys looked at. And if you take a second and look at the structures here where the seta comes out from the cell, take a look and see what you notice. You probably look at, there's multiple cells surrounding right here, but also that this says there's a nerve cell connected to that hair. So remember what we said the function of those hairs is to help sense changes in the environment for the beetles. So that hair being directly connected to a nerve cell makes sense, right? Because it has to be able to do that job. That's what we're going to see when we start looking at cells. We have to look at the type of cell that makes up your body, the types of cells. Think about what's on the inside of your body and what's on the outside of the body. What do those cells do? What is their job? So we're going to look at not only what cells make up the body, but eventually what processes are going to help us grow and develop and change over time. I'm going to have you take a look at this quick video. Was of a girl. Her dad took a picture of her every day. He compiled it into a time lapse from her age 0 to age 21. Think about the structures in her face that are changing. You know, all of her body is changing throughout that time. How does that happen? So that's something that we're going to also be exploring in this unit as well. We're going to start, though, with the idea that all living things are organized in a very specific way. So when we learned about macromolecules, those are the basis of life. Like we talked about, carbon is the basic element of all living things. And those macromolecules, the proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, and nucleic acids, are the basis of all the things in our cells. But our cells are the basic unit of life. A cell is the basic unit that can survive and function on its own. So cells are organized internally with organelles. Organelles are like mini organs. They all have a job that they do to keep the cell running, like the organs in your body all have a job to keep your body running. So organelle has a specific function for each cell. And organelles are similar in plants and animals. There are some that are unique, but similar in plants and animals. Those organelles all work together to form a cell. The cells that are all the same type are going to work together to form a tissue. The tissues Similar tissues all work together. So like you've got blood cells. Blood cells all work together, right, to form your part of your circulatory system. Okay. And then the tissues in the circulatory system all work together to form your veins and your arteries and your heart. That's an organ. And then the organs in your circulatory system are all going to work together to form an organ system. All of these things work together to form these larger systems. So organelles work together to form cells, cells work together to form tissues, tissues work together to form organs, and organs work together to form organ systems. But the question is, how do these cells know what they're supposed to be, and how do they know what they're supposed to do? So your body has to know what types of cells it needs to make and when to make them. That's controlled by your DNA, by what we call gene expression. Some things are turned off and on, by the proteins that are present in your body, by internal cues and external cues. So things that you eat, your environment, your location. So there are lots of things that contribute to how your body knows when to make what. Okay, and we're going to look at that a little bit later. When you look at all these cells shown here, these are all cells. They all have similar organelles. They all are part of a multicellular organism. So what do you notice about all of these different cells? The first thing you should notice is these are all animal cells and they all have a different shape. None of them are a circle. One of them's a circle, the stem cell. That's the basic cell. They all have a nucleus. They all have ribosomes and mitochondria, all the structures that we're going to look at, but they are all specialized. They all do a specific job, and their structure, even internally, their structure is designed to do that job. So a muscle cell is designed in this way. Its shape, its internal structure, the organelles that it has is all designed so that it can do that one job. And all of these cells start as what we call a stem cell. And a stem cell is a cell that doesn't have a direction yet. It's a cell with a clean slate. And the body is going to tell that stem cell what to do. So they're all shaped differently, like I said, because the cell shape is directly going to influence its function. That's the thing that we talked about earlier in our beetle unit. The cells are going to develop unique characteristics like their size, their shape, and their internal components in order to perform that specific task. And this whole process is called cellular differentiation. We are going to spend a whole lot of time on cell differentiation a little bit later, but that word's important because you guys are going to study a specific type of cell to learn about that cell's job and what it does within a body. This is just a little cartoon. So remember, every cell has a specific structure and its job is going to do a specific thing. So remember, muscle cells are built to expand and contract so that you can pick things up and put them down, right? And if their job was to send messages to each other, it might not be very effective because that's not how the cell is designed. It's just a little funny. Okay, that's it. That's all of the things we're going to talk about today. We'll come back to cell structures in our next video. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.